Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters Encounters video. Once again, I'll share another one of these here from the reddit.com website, this time from the subreddit Skinwalkers. I haven't done one of these in a while when it comes to that world. There's still good views when it comes to these videos. Lots of people still interested in them, good views, good comments as well, so I thought, why not? Why not share another one here for your viewing pleasure? So again, it's from the reddit.com website. They're from the subreddit Skinwalkers. This one, in my opinion, is a little extra creepy because of how this plays out. You'll know more about that here in a minute. But it comes from a user by the name of typicalad3544. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's share this encounter. And once again, let me know what you guys and gals think about it. So here's what they stated. Oh, by the way, the title is, so I'm finally willing to share my experience. It's been years since I've had a visit. So here's what they state. So this story is going to be long. I doubt it would be as interesting and intense as it seems to me, but till this day I get chills and my eyes water thinking about this compilation of stories. So my tale begins as a child. I am 35 male now, so this happened to me over 10 years ago. I was in the 7th grade, 13 or so, and my buddy was having a birthday party. He lives close to 20 miles outside of town, and his property butted up to a river to the west, and the road was to the east, about 1,000 yards from the river. The house was maybe 100 yards from the river, tucked back into a wooded area. So 10 of us or so are skateboarding and just doing whatever kids do, playing in the river, etc. Might I add that it's middle September and I'm located in the northwest of the United States. So once it became dark, kids were still running around. The family had got a motorhome, so all the boys could stay in the RV and be loud and watch movies till late in the AM. About midnight comes around and all the boys are in the camper watching Joe Dirt. My closest friend and I are young and dumb and still hanging out with the boys, sister and her friend playing on the trampoline. So we're clearly making noise and playing and talking, and it's now incredibly late, and so the girls go inside. So my friend and I were just laying on the trampoline, watching out to the east towards the railroad and the highway. There's a 15-foot street light, for better term, between the trampoline and the house, and a strip of cottonwoods and brush that was a window at the end of the wheat fields that we were staring at. As we were enjoying the night, something caught our attention about 70 yards away in the windrow. It was massive, but moving silently. Honestly, everything was silent now. The woods, the camper, us. But this thing steps out in between two trees and it turns its head to us, making eye contact, clearly acknowledging that we were there. Two piercing red eyes atop this deer-looking head outlined with antlers protruding out of the head, incredibly tall, at least 7 foot tall, and when I checked the branch I had marked it the next day, it was that height. And so I've spent years hunting and have been in some very sticky situations, even had a mountain lion tracking me in the woods, and the only thing I could compare this to is the feeling of prey. In my heart of hearts, there was nothing I could do to protect myself from this entity. Now, the hardest part about this whole thing is next. I'm a very logical person, and this is still the hardest thing for me to understand. Going back to the situational awareness of what was happening, the street light in between this thing and the trampoline was still illuminated, and yet this thing was casting a shadow towards the light pole with nothing illuminating it from behind. That was still the thought that haunted me for the rest of the night and still today. How was its shadow going towards the light? This thing slips behind another tree and then disappears down the windrow. Now, for at least 5 minutes after, not a single word is said. Finally, I break the silence and my gaze from the tree line to my buddy still lying next to me, and I fumble out, "Did you see that?" And he stutters back with a yes. And the rest of that night is very blurry to me, but we ran at full speed to the camper where the rest of our friends were. We must have been pale as ghosts because within minutes, the kids were badgering us about what was wrong with us. I don't remember what was said, still reeling from what just happened, but I remember being very adamant about no one, and I mean no one, going out there to the point that other kids were starting to get scared. When morning arrived, I went out to where we saw the said being and measured how tall it was, 7 feet 5 inches minimum, and it was crouched at the neck. And even then, I was still too scared to go about that spot alone. But this isn't where this story ends. In fact, far from it. Some years passed, and my buddy and I went through this experience, we're best friends, and so we're partying and drinking one night, and then this experience comes up. We begin spilling our guts to each other like close friends do, and I explained to him that in the weeks that passed, I've been plagued by nightmares of said experience. Worst way he could respond was by telling me he was also having very similar experiences. So in a drunken stupor, we made a pact to call each other the next time we are woken up by this nightmare. Fast forward 2 weeks and I wake up panicked, feeling chased by this entity. I immediately remember the plan, and knowing my friend is the only person I can talk to about this, I call him straight to voicemail, and so I hang up. And so my phone rings instantly with my friend calling me. He just had the exact same dream at the exact same time. Now, this is where the story gets creepy, and the reason why I haven't written this story ever before in my life. I've always had odd things happening to me, supernatural per se, stories for another time. If you guys want me to tell them, let me know. But now I'm 27, at the time dating a girl in the same town that this all happened in, and wouldn't you know it, it's fall, just like when everything else had happened. Well, we had shared scary stories, and I told her the story I just told all of you about. And this is when I found out what I had seen was either a Wendigo or a Skinwalker. And so her and I began to go down the rabbit hole listening to stories about skinwalkers and such. She was always stunned when these stories would play out and have similarities to my story. She would witness a physical reaction from me, whether it be a shiver or a very noticeable set of goosebumps, which she would always say was the most believable evidence because this is almost impossible to fake. So while learning about skinwalkers together, we found out lore that says once one has seen you, it doesn't stop looking for you, which made my skin crawl at the time. But also when you speak of them, they are alerted to your presence, and so we have been talking a lot about this. Well, I had to leave for work one night and was gone the whole night. Our room was in a basement that faced the backyard, which had a broken fence that led out into a larger park. Well, while I was gone, she had our window open late at night, and she was laying in bed when she heard one of her cats meowing loudly out towards the broken fence. Not too weird, but rather than coming to the window, the meowing continues. Well, finally, she was frustrated by it enough to turn on a nightlight and say something to the cat. But as she goes towards the window, she realizes that the cat she hears is laying at the foot of the bed asleep. And so she slams the window shut and thankfully didn't call for the cat to come outside or inside. She's sure it was the same thing trying to gain entrance into our house by shape-shifting. This story still haunts me to this day, and I fear by putting it into words that I will open myself up to this being and become noticed again. Let me know what you think this creature is and what I should do, because it seems to come back every couple of years to find me, and it's been a couple of years now. And then that's it. That's everything associated with this encounter, creepy one. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. So as you can see, here we have a recurring set of visits by this entity, whether it's a skinwalker and so on, who knows. But obviously they started it at a very young age, 13 years, in other words, whenever they visited the user here. They had that frightful encounter there on a trampoline where they saw this thing. It was described as being 7.5 feet tall, and it was crouching almost like its neck was crouching. And then it had these antlers, and then it had this strange set of piercing red eyes as well, almost like it had a deer head that it was on. And then the most incredible thing was this: even though there was a street light that was coming down upon it, it in turn was almost creating its own shadow up towards the street light itself. Very creepy when I was reading this information, because it plays out as if it's almost toying with darkness itself. But it saw them, and it saw them, and then they, in turn, the boys, saw it, and then it just went away. But lo and behold, unfortunately, this guy has more encounters with it, especially when he starts reading that whenever it latches onto someone, whenever it sees someone, then it starts following them around. And so he in turn had another experience, and apparently having these nightmares as well. Him and his buddy, the one that were there on the trampoline. This is spanning now several decades, it seems, and the idea that it's apparently something that continues again just goes up on the creepy factor. This will be like a never-ending set of encounters for this guy. And then the last one apparently involves the girlfriend. She was apparently there at night, thought it was her cat that was outside meowing, but it wasn't. Her cat was there, right with her, right next to the bed. And so he thought something else is happening, creepy stuff. So, in other words, she thought, I'm sorry, something else was happening, so creepy stuff. And so, was it the cat? Was it another cat? Was it something else, a shapeshifter? In other words, let me know. So, all right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.